target of this investigation, Eric O'Keefe, again, who has stood up to these people. Without Eric O'Keefe, we don't have the stories. Without the people we were able to talk to, we don't have these stories. We can't bring them to you. So thank you for that.
Well, thanks, Matt, for all your work, and thanks for coming out on a beautiful Saturday. Mostly, I think I want to do Q&A, but I'll take a little step back in time. I think we're coming up on the 2-year anniversary when this first became the central element of my life. On October 3rd, in the dark, just after 6 a.m., there were 4 simultaneous raids on family homes. Mine was not one of them, and there's some confusion out there about it. It was slated to be. So I was a target. They set up a John Doe in my rural county. They did not trust the local sheriff, who I actually haven't met, but he's a Republican. The Democrat DA in my county said, oh, you know, I don't know, he might be too political. That's literally what he said. He might be too political. That meant he might not keep the secrecy order, or else he might say, what do you need to have a big raid for? Give him a phone call. So they ended up not coming, which is why I ended up getting a 7-page subpoena on the 3rd of October, which alone was stunning. Also, by the way, Sheriff Clark was never informed of these things. They used the sheriff in other counties, not here. Same reason, I'm sure. He would not have executed a warrant in this fashion. Since that time, 23 and a half months ago, I closed a fund I had. I mostly dropped my other national political activities, and I've been basically full-time John Doe, litigation management, fundraising, strategic management. That's what I've been doing. During the course of that, I learned quickly that the first John Doe, which started May 5th, 2010, was without foundation. It was not legitimate. I have yet to find any legitimate investigatory activity. The goal was political from inception. The motivation was political. The tactics were unconstitutional, relentlessly. We still have not seen most of the warrants involved. I've seen some of them. When my attorney first looked at a warrant in this, he said, that's a general warrant. Just on the face of it, it was so sweeping. We later learned that they took our emails from internet service providers also with warrants, secret search warrants, where the company can't tell us. These have gone out around the country. Google, Yahoo, AOL, 1&1, MHTC. And those warrants said, give us all of the emails sent and received and deleted to and from this address, and the address book, and any other information, everything. That's how they stuffed the computer in Waukesha County at a private firm that has the spy database on it. So this thing is a dark, unconstitutional, political operation funded by taxpayer money throughout all this period of time. And there's a long way to go on illuminating it. The toughest part of the legal fight is pretty clearly over. But there's so many lessons in it, like what Matt writes about it. My plan is to further discover what happened, illuminate what happened, and to take it national and tie it into some things going on in other states. The only 2 Wisconsin unique things here, the only 2, these are pretty giant, raids on family homes for political purposes. I have not heard of that happening, except in a few cases where they were actually trying to make an arrest. So this, an investigatory raid on a peaceful family home is yay, Wisconsin. And then the secrecy order, which is clearly unconstitutional. And the secrecy order, by the way, has been violated, I'm very thankful, by many people, but not publicly. So one reason I have been well armed to talk about these problems is that people have talked to me, which is a gift to all of us. And I was in the best position to take things public. When I saw the 7-page subpoena, I was really stunned. Just by that, I didn't know about the raids. It was amazingly broad and sweeping, insulting, and it proved to me they'd been spying on us already. It had the secrecy order on it, so outrageous secrecy order. I wasn't confused about what was going on. I was really, really surprised because we had run such a meticulous operation. But the people they had on were the operatives I've been working with for some years, and who I later learned had their home trade. And my team was doing lot of the histrionic work in the Supreme Court races. And I'm lately learning, just in recent months, so this is a little bit of new ground, man. Gets into theorizing a little bit. We do know that Chief Justice Shirley Abramson named Barbara Kluka as the first John Doe judge. We know that. Barbara Kluka, as soon as we filed a quash motion, recused herself without explanation except saying because of a conflict. She didn't say I'm sick. She said because of a conflict. A judge in Wisconsin is required to give a written explanation when they're recused because of a conflict. They don't follow the law. We've never had an explanation. She signed the warrants and subpoenas September 30th. She recused before the end of October on a conflict. What conflict happened in those 6 weeks? She had a pre-existing conflict. We don't know what it was. Maybe we'll never find out. There's so much that's dark behind this behavior. I'll touch on a few things and then go to questions. One is, it is a corrupt legal system that would allow this to happen. Deeply corrupt. A lot of it is the career-long cooperation between prosecutors and judges. The criminal justice system usually brings guilty people into court. That's what the judges expect. They expect the prosecutors to tell the truth. They expect the accused to lie. And that's the life of a judge a lot of the time. And I don't mean that as a criticism of the judges, by the way. Really, most of the guys I think who are brought up, after all, there's so many crimes, and so many that don't get arrested, and so many that do plea deals. When they bring a criminal charge for some violence or theft or whatever, gun running, usually the guy did something. Usually there's a crime. I think the judges get jaundiced and they expect, and the prosecutors too tend to get cynical and to do shortcuts, because often the guy's guilty and he doesn't have a good lawyer, or he's got a public defender. So we have a very sloppy, lazy legal system, and judges tend to trust prosecutors. They know them, they're in a club, and the GAB is overseen by 6 retired career judges. And Shirley Abramson names the reserve judges who became the John Doe judges. So we start off with judges, and then we have prosecutors coming in. They know these guys. I've never met them. I mean, I'll tell you some of the people I've never met. Robin Voss, Scott Fitzgerald, Shirley Abramson, John Chisholm. They don't know who I am, right? So maybe they do now. But Kevin Kennedy has a PR staff of 40 people working for him. He knows all the newspaper editors in the state. He's been around longer than probably just about any legislator. He's wired in. It's his system. And again, he's a guy, his job is a diplomat. You know, he's supposed to lie for his cause, basically. I called him on Vicky the other day, a professional dissembler. He fooled a lot of people through time, but we now have him, I think. So this corruption needs to be examined. The idea that you would have judges oversee something like this was a really stupid idea, bipartisan stupidity. A bad idea this time is gone. That's what CAB is. Everything is wrong with the Government Accountability Board. By the way, our founders had an idea of how to hold government accountable. It's called elections. Elections with free and open campaigns. That's accountability. When the legislature delegated to a body the ability to look at campaign finance, secret complaints on campaign finance, and then secret complaints about ethics, it was a very foolish move. It diminished the power of the legislature, and it diminished the power of all of us. It was a transfer of power from us. And we have a generation in America, in the States, of having these commissions to look into speech and ethics. And what they do is they make legislators afraid of the permanent government. And this is something I'm also getting into in my studies in the last 2 months as we get deeper into this. I'll tell you a story that captures it. There have been many strange things during the course of this whole 23 months. One of the stranger ones, because very few people have spoken up about this who have authority in the state. And I'm not sure, my name has seldom been mentioned publicly by any politician, hardly ever. Maybe, I don't even know, you know. So while people have picked on Gab, I don't think even 2 months after I won the Supreme Court case, I don't need a lot of praise, by the way, but I wouldn't mind some people standing closer to those of us who are targets and not just saying Gab has to go, but saying something more than that. But I went to a party at a bar with conservatives in Madison where a lot of legislators were invited in the spring, long before we won the Supreme Court. And I was treated like some kind of a hero. I was getting hugged by legislators I had never met. And I must say, what was going through my head was not, oh, this is nice. That was not what was going through my head. What was going through my head is, why don't you step outside with a microphone and say that?
Yes.
So, but now these are people who have to worry about things I don't worry about, like, am I popular? And they have to live with the newspapers in Wisconsin. Fortunately, I have a relationship with the world's greatest newspaper, and it's not based in Wisconsin. And this paper in Milwaukee has been complicit, not just biased. I like papers that take positions, mix it up, and have a point of view. I like that. In fact, I like old-style 19th century American papers with front-page editorializing. I like the Manchester Union paper that runs it on the front page. This is different. This is dishonest. This paper has been persistently dishonest about the John Doe, and it continues. I have not talked to them ever deliberately on the record. I did accidentally answer the phone once, and to them and said, yes. I said, no, see it. No, see it. It made the paper. No, see it. Marley. Anyway, so this is a deep problem in the state. The politicians, I'm just going to say this, they remain afraid of district attorneys, which is rational, of Gab. Gab is crippled now, but up until this summer, Kevin Kennedy could create a smear headline against any legislator any week, because he could come up with an ethics complaint based on anonymous complaint or campaign finance, and both of those arenas are fuzzy. So they have been afraid of Kennedy, afraid of the newspapers that listen to Kennedy, and district attorneys have immense power, even apart from a John Doe. So one of the things we need to do here through time, when people are free when the government fears the people, and we're not free when we fear the government. And what we have right now is legislators who fear permanent government more than they fear us, the constituents, or the administrative state, as it termed some of our national entities. We have a permanent administrative state. The attitude of Kennedy and Chisholm's team here and the union left within state government is that they own the government, it's for them, and we did not have the right to cut their benefits through Act 10. We didn't have the right to do it. They intended to take out the people who set that up, and they intended to take out the people who had worked the messaging on the state Supreme Court races. You may recall April 1st, 2008, Loophole Louis was defeated in the U.S. Supreme Court re-election race. He'd been voting with Shirley Edmondson on a 4-3 court. Loophole Louis was the first incumbent to lose the Supreme Court race in Wisconsin since the vote to allow the Milwaukee Braves to move to Atlanta. It doesn't happen often. The judges were outraged, and it was in the wake, and I mean judges in general, not a few conservatives, but judges didn't like us picking on an incumbent judge. That's when Gab was set up, and they had hearings in 2008, right in the wake of that election, which is where Shane Falk was talking about ways to get around the Constitution to judges who were really mad at us right then. And I don't tend to be quick to analyze complex, it takes me time to analyze complex attacks. But even when I read this subpoena, one of my first thoughts was Shirley Edmondson. And it's because our biggest impact races have been 2 Supreme Court elections that we'd issue it. And it was nowhere in there. It was nowhere in there. And I thought, Shirley teed this up. She left that out to hide her prints. Well, now we have emails suggesting a high concern about the court races, total inappropriate searching of the database for things that weren't in the warrants. So I'm going to do a little blitz of where we are on the legal front, and I also want to say nobody else who I've talked to who was hit in these, there are several hundred people under secrecy orders from these 2 years. And for this newspaper in Milwaukee, as they did last year at editorials, we need to know what happened in the 2011 and 2012 campaigns. So we need the John Doe. When they knew it had a muzzle on all the people on our side who knew the most about it, it's just the height of hypocrisy. That was an editorial. Just outrageously insincere. So many people got gagged by this. Nobody had the opportunity I did. Nobody had even close to the opportunity I did. So by that I mean to push back. So my kids were raised out of the house. I've worked nationally behind the scenes of politics for 35 years. I have a network of financial backers, and I had connections. I also am an expert practitioner in campaign finance. I've been involved in issue advocacy. You think I'm some type of political something after this, but I've been involved in issue ad campaigns touching all 50 states over the course of 35 years. I even had lunch with Gene McCarthy, Clean Gene from Minnesota, talking about the Buckley v. Vallejo case just a few years after the decision. I read that decision in 1976 when it was new, which was a decision crimping the First Amendment over campaign speech. So it is an area where I knew law. I was a practitioner who had overseen things. I was in touch with our spending and our fundraising. I was at a nexus. I had these connections. So I was in an extremely good position, and I had a business situation where I could just drop it all and fight this. So that has not, while it has not been pleasant, it has not been painful, and it's what I needed to do. Attitudinally, I had an attitude that I guess I'll tell you about my first email to my lawyers after this, who have been fabulous. Kansas City group and my DC attorneys. I've had a lot of attorneys working on it. But for the first email I sent, I said, I think you have a difficult client. You know, I've got this 7-page subpoena. I've already drafted a response. The problem is it's only 2 words long, and the second one is you. That's before I knew about the home records. But so I didn't have an equivocating attitude. I defied the secrecy order within 4 or 5 minutes of reading it. Spent the whole evening on the phone. I kind of had an informal thing to myself, talking about it by noon every day to somebody, so that I would just break it every single day. So actually, knowing the way they charge, I think they could charge me with about 600 counts, right, of contempt, and give me a 600-year sentence. Because with Kelly Reinfleisch, by the way, who copped a plea, they charged her with misconduct in public office, 4 counts, up to a 3.5-year sentence for each. Those 4 counts were days on which she sent multiple emails related to a political campaign outside of the office. She's salaried, she worked evenings, she didn't have fixed hours, but from the county office on a private computer, not for Walker's campaign, for someone who wasn't even in the office sending those emails. 3.5 years per day of those emails, 14 years. They put this in front of her when she was out of money, out of support, feeling isolated. She copped a plea, misconduct in public.
And with a child?
Not her. Kelly?
Did she have one?
No.
Oh, I thought she had.
Yeah, no.
That was somebody else.
Yeah. So Kelly, by the way, will get her ankle bracelet off at the end of September. She's working for me. We have an excellent cert petition in with the U.S. Supreme Court. So here's a little quick wrap up on the legal. I might miss something. There's so much going on, but hundreds of additional pages have been filed with the state Supreme Court since the decision of July 16th. The other side has, has claimed basically we want you to reconsider it. We might file for cert with the U.S. Supreme Court, so don't destroy anything. We might need it for that. Oh, and by the way, we want to keep it forever. We want to keep it forever. Because we might use it in other civil and criminal proceedings. So that's their attitude. And we've had multiple people that stepped in and filed things, and we've had to file additional things because Judge Natashine, who has been a really bad actor in this whole thing, has allowed John Chisholm to use anything in the 5 million documents from Doe 1 for public relations or litigation, anything, any way he wants. And so now we're seeing him drop stuff into the Cindy Archer case. The purpose of those filings, in my view, is to deter other litigation and to punish me and my network for having whatever we might have had to do with the Cindy Archer case. That's what they're doing there. And so they're continuing to play using our tax money and debasing the legal system here actively. Right up to now, this week they filed something in the Archer case. And so those cases are active. Cindy's case is in federal court. The attorneys are optimistic there. It's a good civil rights case. The other side has been the most obnoxious to the law firm, the Rifkin firm in D.C. David Rifkin told me of any firm he's dealt with in a case in his 30 years of practice. They have been insulting to his legal team on the phone, even with the the judge on the phone. They've criticized him in front of the judge for doing interviews on Fox News. Is this pertinent? He hasn't done one on that case, but is this pertinent? By the way, David Rifkin, who had my federal case, is not in the Wisconsin Supreme Court case. Rifkin's family left the Soviet Union when he was 17 years old. You might catch him on Fox News now that he still has a slight Russian accent. He's a brilliant attorney and extremely familiar with this case. So we have a Supreme Court case here. They're going to have to issue at least one more decision in the John Doe cases, and maybe more. We've asked them to shut down Nettershine, and we've sent them detailed instructions on how to shut it down. We have asked them to inform all people who had their emails taken by secret search warrant to tell those people, and multiple other things. We have the Cindy Archer case, civil rights suit, federal court in Milwaukee. We have a cert petition in front of the U.S. Supreme Court, Ryan Fish v. Wisconsin. I don't believe Wisconsin has filed a counter to the cert petition. I don't think Schimmel will file one. Real clean Fourth Amendment case. We also have a case sitting there with CRG, which is still could potentially become pertinent, depending on because Orb's group was the only one going into the last election that was protected from the enforcement of the non-existent laws on issue act, because they went into court with Rifkin's firm. And do you know Orb, by the way, how the case sits?